What's up everybody, Matt Moran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of exciting news to go over here this week. But before I get into the news, I first want to mention I will be doing my usual weekly live stream here on Sunday at 12:30 Eastern time. And so it's always the same thing. We all just hang out, answer all your questions, and we just talk cars and have a good time. So join if you can. But anyway, getting into the news here this week, the first news story is that Toyota has officially revealed the first teaser for the Land Cruiser here. And so it's our first glimpse officially, and you can see it in all its boxy, large windowed glory. The side silhouette looks almost exactly like a lightly modified version of like a 90s Land Cruiser to me in the best way possible, and I can't wait to see more of that. That seems very exciting. But also, from what we can see there, it doesn't seem to have round headlights like the report last week was claiming from drive.com.au. So we'll see if the round headlight thing actually happens or not, but still very interesting. Very exciting to see this. You also see from that window line, it seems to be the same as the GX, so there's a good chance this is, like all the rumors have suggested, going to be based on the GX. The new GX just came out, so now that the teasers have begun, hopefully that means we don't have too much longer to wait for a full reveal. And so all Toyota is saying for now is that with 65 years of heritage, you can choose to slow down or reinvent yourself. We chose the latter. Stay tuned for more updates. So we will stay tuned, but interesting to see that. Alfa Romeo is also teasing their new vehicle they're really excited about. And so they confirmed that their new supercar will be debuting on August 30th. So there's a lot of rumor about, supercar coming from Alfa, and maybe it was a back and forth thing. Is it going to happen? Is it not? Now we know it is happening, and sounds promising. So Motor One is reporting that during a Chinese reveal of the refreshed Giulia and Stelvio, which happened like last year for everyone else. I'm not sure why it's so slow over there. But anyway, during that announcement here on stage, they also said about this new supercar that the project is a dream come true inspired by a daring team that wanted to achieve something unique. And besides that, we just get a very close-up shot at what's either an air intake in the front or an air extractor in the rear, maybe. We'll have to see. But past speculation has suggested the 6C name will be used for this car, and could potentially also get a strong 6-cylinder engine to go along with the name there. A lot of the outlets are suggesting it'll just use the quadrifoglio motor, but that motor's been around a while now. I mean, they could use it, but part of me thinks they may actually try and grab the Maserati Nettuno twin turbo V6 that's a little more potent. We will see what happens, but anyway, thankfully we only have less than 2 months to go until we get more info on that. And Mercedes has revealed the 2024 CLE this week, which is a coupe and convertible that will replace the C and E-Class coupe and convertibles in the lineup. They've consolidated them down into one, and so the styling inside and out doesn't deviate from the typical Mercedes styling language, but it does certainly look classy, and it's actually even a tiny bit longer than the old E-Class coupe. So to me, that looks like it's C-Class size, but apparently it's pretty big, interestingly enough. The base one is the CLE 300 that runs the usual 2-liter turbo 4 for 255 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque. Same old, same old. The next step up, though, is the CLE 450, which thankfully still uses a turbo 3-liter straight-six engine for 375 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. They both run through a 9-speed automatic and get all-wheel drive as standard here in the US, although certain other markets will be able to get a rear-wheel drive version along with adaptive dampers and 4-wheel steering, which are all features that we will not be getting here on the US version, unfortunately. All CLEs here will also get a more comfy suspension setup, but there is an AMG package that will be available on the CLE 450 that will give you a Sport Tune suspension if you want it. Inside, it gets 11.9-inch touchscreens, digital gauges, the new Mercedes steering wheel, and lots of ambient lighting and all the usual flourishes of a Mercedes interior these days. And journalists that got to check it out also say the backseat is actually pretty usable as well, and the trunk is a decent size too. No pricing has been revealed yet for these, but the coupe will arrive first in the beginning of 2024. And so yeah, it's just really great to see a new coupe and convertible from Mercedes, and just in general, just on the market from any car company, because these things are pretty rare and dying off. And so it's also a great choice for those who want a two-door Mercedes but don't want something as sporty and aggressive as the SL or the AMG GT that's coming soon too. So I'm really happy they did this. Hopefully they sell enough of them to justify it, but great to see nonetheless. GMC this week has revealed the AEV edition of the Canyon AT4X. And so just like the Bison version of the Colorado ZR2, it gets an extra 1.5-inch lift for 12.2 inches of ground clearance total, 35-inch mud terrain tires on B-lock capable wheels, and steel skid plates all over the underbody. The bumpers are unique as well to make room and maximize the off-road capability, but are steel, and the front one is able to accommodate a winch. There's also an in-bed spare tire mount, since the extra 35-inch tire there wouldn't fit under the bed. And there's no towing or payload ratings yet, but it should be basically the same as the ZR2 Bison. Everything about this is the same as the ZR2 Bison, just with, the slightly different styling from GMC here. Inside, it gets 3 auxiliary switches along with unique AEV logos stitched onto the headrests and floor mats. Mechanically, it's all the same otherwise as a regular AT4X, which I did test a few months back on a very fun off-road trail on the launch event for the Canyon. So check out that video if you haven't already. It was a really fun thing. One of my most intense off-roading experiences so far. It was a lot of fun. But anyway, that AEV edition here will be available to order later this year, but there's no pricing for those yet. The Hyundai Santa Cruz is also going to look a little more rugged this coming model year here, even if it isn't actually any more rugged or off-road capable. So like other Hyundais, it gets a new XRT trim that replaces the SLE Premium trim right below the top of the line Limited model. So the XRT trim gives you unique wheels, trim, more fender and body cladding, side steps, and some unique touches on the inside. It's only available with the 2.5-liter Turbo 4 and the 8-speed DCT setup that also has all-wheel drive as standard. Prices for all Santa Cruzes also go up about $950 for the 2024 model year, and the XRT will be starting at $41,185. They'll begin arriving in dealers here in the next few weeks. And for some other pickup truck news here, YouTube channel Pickup Truck and SUV Talk found an interesting thing hidden on the Dodge website recently. So they found an equipment list for a 2025 Ram 1500 tungsten trim. And we already knew about the tungsten trim that had already been revealed as part of like the Ram Rev package for the electric version as like the top trim of that. And there was also talk about that coming, into other Rams as well. And so the equipment list here details a dual shift knob, suede headliner, under-seat lighting, a passenger display, which we again already saw in the Ram Rev, so don't have to use your imagination for that one. It's also going to have hands-free driving capability, an ultra-premium sound system, 22-inch wheels, and most interestingly, and the most important thing here, a 3-liter inline-6 Hurricane high-output twin-turbo engine, which is the same one currently in the Grand Wagoneer L that has long been rumored to be the V8 replacement motor in everything in the Stellantis lineup, essentially, most likely. And so this would mean 510 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque if it's the same output it gets in that Grand Wagoneer L. So that'd be 135 more horsepower than the full 5.7-liter V8 in the Rams currently. And recent spy shots also suggest that there will be a styling refresh to go along with all these other changes here for the 2025 model year, I'm assuming. Could even come as soon as the 2024 model year, though. We'll have to see. But it seems like the V8s will be sticking around for now, at least. It looks like the spy shots are suggesting the same exhaust tips, which was leading Pickup Truck and SUV Talk, their channel, to suggest that it'll probably keep the V8 around. And I couldn't imagine them dropping the V8 that quickly. I mean, stranger things have happened, but it seems like they'll probably keep the V8 around, especially for maybe some of the lower trims. But this could be that new top dog engine. It would certainly fit in nicely above the V8, 5.7, but below the TRX, of course. So great to hear that, and sounds very promising and also very expensive. But with pickup trucks, it seems like there's no limits anymore. So I'm sure there'll be lots of people lining up for these $100,000 Rams, very, very quickly. In other Stellantis news here, this week they laid out details for their STLA Medium EV platform. And it's a little underwhelming, if I'm honest. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. But mainly, it's going to be a 400-volt platform, and it's not coming until around 2026. I mean, 400 volts is be kind of weak to come out even right now. You have the best stuff from, Hyundai does the 800 volt stuff, as does the Audi and Porsche stuff. And 3 years from now, especially, even more companies are going to go for the faster stuff. But anyway, 400 volts is what we're getting from Stellantis here in 2026 as the underpinnings for a new Chrysler electric crossover that they recently confirmed won't be anything like the Airflow. They said it's going to have a completely different name, completely different styling. So throw the Airflow thing out of your head because it's not happening, unfortunately. I think it's a great looking vehicle, but they said that's getting tossed in the bin and they're going to do something totally different. So whatever it is, it's going to be a Chrysler crossover electric thing. That's going to be the first thing we're going to get here in the States with this platform. So the platform is going to be accommodating both front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive setups and a standard and a long-range battery. The big one having 98 kilowatts of usable capacity and about 370 miles of range, along with a 20% to 80% charge, taking 27 minutes. And like I said, Hyundai and Kia right now, you can get today, be able to get for the past year or two here, 800 volts system can charge in 18 minutes from 10% to 80%, not 20 like to 80 like this is saying. So I just don't know how they think this is going to be competitive in 3 years. And even Toyota has said that by 2026, they're claiming to have a 600 plus mile EV range vehicle with their new battery chemistry. They've had a battery breakthrough, and there's solid state batteries coming from many companies around 2026. So, it's just kind of crazy that they, again, are running with this. But one thing, though, at least in Europe, this platform will have some time to shine because this platform is going to start production in Europe this year. So they're going to get it a few years before us here, and it'll be, fairly okay and competitive, especially in Europe, for a few years here. And then we'll see once it shows up in the States. Another thing, though, that's a little underwhelming about this platform is they say it's going to be putting out 214 horsepower in the front-wheel drive setup, which is literally what like the Toyota BZ4X does, which is one of the least competitive EVs in its segment right now. And that is where they're starting at in 2026, Stellantis. Don't know how that's going to go. They also said that the all-wheel drive version is going to do 382 horsepower, which, again, is par for the course. And that's still, we're talking almost 400 horsepower, so no complaints there. But there's a lot of stuff from other companies that already do more power. So, like, this means, there's not going to be any performance version of this Chrysler EV thing. I mean, I guess we shouldn't have expected that, but, you already have, like, the Mach-E GT doing way more power than that, and the Hyundais and the Kias, once again, and a bunch of others, doing more power than 382 horsepower already. So anyway, moving on though, in an online meeting with reporters, Stellantis' CEO claimed that these decisions about the lower, range and the lower, ratings for the voltage and all that, he said that was decided on to make the vehicles more affordable, and did say that down the road the platform could make the switch to 800 volts, but even if they did it the very next model year and they did it in 2027, they'd still be behind Hyundai, Kia, and many other companies probably at least by a year, if not more. It's just, we will see. We'll see how it plays out for them. They have good reasons for doing what they're doing, I guess. We'll see how it plays out. But anyway, lastly, Stellantis executives also said that the platform will underpin EVs with high off-road capability, which everyone kind of read between the lines there, and that strongly suggests that a production version of the Jeep Recon that we saw previously could come shortly after the Chrysler, even maybe in the same 2026 model year there, or 2026 calendar year. We'll see. But you don't need a ton of power, I guess, for that kind of stuff, but you would want to have a lot of range, and I'm sure whenever you put off-road tires and stuff on, that range is going to plummet. They said up to 370 miles of range from this battery pack. So that's the best it's going to get. It's probably going to be even lower for Jeeps and stuff like that. So I'm kind of surprised they're not coming out swinging a little harder than that, but again, we'll see how it plays out for them. The last little bit of Stellantis news here is that they fully debuted the Fiat 600e this week as an eventual replacement, most likely for the 500X. For right now, they're saying they're going to sell them both alongside each other. We'll see how long that lasts. But anyways, and there's also no word right now as far as whether we'll get the 600 here in the States. It could come after the 500e since they are bringing the 500e here to the States, I believe next year. So we'll see. But anyway, as far as the 600e here, a little brief overview, for those that are curious. It's 3 inches shorter and 3 inches lower than the already small 500X. So definitely European sized, as far as, being like a little city thing, but it does have the 4 doors at least and all that, and borrows lots of styling cues inside and outside from the 500e that's already a very hot seller in Europe. And so there's a 7-inch gauge cluster, a 10.25-inch touchscreen, and lots of color on the inside. And speaking of color, Fiat also this week announced that they have vowed to quit selling gray vehicles. They will only be selling fun colors, which is a very commendable, very brave decision as well, but I mean, I gotta respect them for that. That's awesome, and just makes me want to get behind Fiat and hope for them to do good things, because I mean, that would just be great to see a little more color in the world, I think. So, we'll see how that plays out for them. But anyway, this thing's going to be running a 54 kilowatt hour battery that powers a front motor that does 154 horsepower, does 248 miles of range on the easier WLTP test cycle, meaning if it ever came to the States, it'd probably do 200 miles of range at best. It only does 100 kilowatt fast charging, but at least the battery pack is small. so it's low horsepower, so it should be able to actually hit those range numbers pretty consistently, hopefully. And so anyway, it'll be arriving at European dealers in September, and a hybrid version will also come in 2024 for those that still want gas power as well. So it'll be great that you do have that option available. CarBuzz this week has found a new Ford patent that they patented the name F-150 Flash recently. And it's expected that this will be the name for the wild concept that was teased back in February under a sheet there that, looked very wide body, very show car-y, though, I highly doubt this will lead to a production model. It'll most likely use the same motors we saw in that Transit E thing that was racing on Pikes Peak and all the other wild things they do at the Ford Performance Skunk Works thing. So I doubt this will be on a production model. We will see. But, cool to at least hear they're going to probably use that name if they've patented it. I'll still keep my fingers crossed for a Thunderbird or a Thunderbolt, something like that down the road for something. But F-150 Flash is a cool name as well. So cool to hear that. And for the last news story here this week, just a few days after Volvo announced last week that they're going to be, hopping on the bandwagon with everyone else and grabbing the NACS ports from Tesla and hopping on the Supercharger network, this past week, Polestar also announced that they're doing the same thing. So they'll be getting the new port coming on all their vehicles in 2025, and also that they'll be having the switch over in mid-2024. They're not saying spring like everybody else. They're saying mid-2024 to go onto the Supercharger network for the Polestars, and they said that any of the Volvos or any of the Polestars that ship with the NACS connector in 2025, those will also come with a CCS adapter, so they can still use all those CCS chargers that are out there. And so, yeah, we'll see which car company announces something next week. So, anyway, interesting to hear that. And lastly, I want to thank all of you that are members of the Maran Motoring Club. So we did have several new members that were able to join this past week, or rejoin, I should say, thanks to the very generous memberships that were gifted by many of you during the live stream here this past week. And I really thank all of you that gifted those live streams. It's so kind of all of you. But I did also want to shout out, we did have one new member that joined this past week as well. So I want to give a very warm welcome here to Raquel Matthew for becoming a member. Thank you so much for your support. I hope you are enjoying the perks and continue to enjoy the perks. Be sure to also join the live stream here this Sunday as well if you can, where all those members do get priority answering. And for anyone else that'd like to join and become a member, there's always going to be a join button here on the video page, on the channel page, and also a link in the description. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Please also leave a like and subscribe to keep these videos coming, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.